Okay. Can you hear me? I hope that can you hear me? This is the microphone that I have, and I hope that you can hear me. Shit, I'm so nervous right now. Hi everybody, loud and clear. Thank you. Welcome to my MOONCAST again. I'm still in my hometown, so this is my old childhood bedroom with the mosquito net. I'm sorry if sometimes you can like hear some noise from out there. My neighbor, they are getting rid of their pond, like so they pump all the water out and then they put in like dirt and rock into the pond to turn it into a garden. So like maybe sometimes you will hear some like noisy sound from them. Sorry for that. How are you these days? Again, I just woke up like pretty sleepy right now. And as you can see, the title today of my MOONCAST is about capitalist indoctrination and the toxic left. Recently, the last few months, not just like really recently, I've been dealing with this, and like I starting to see like the connection between capitalist indoctrination in the West and the toxic leftists in the West. And I think that is one of the problem. Why? Because here's the thing. Generally speaking, of course, there are special like occasions and like people, but generally speaking, leftists in Vietnam are way less toxic. Seriously, even though when we don't agree with each other in some kind of topics, but we still are willing to talk to each other and listen to each other, and like maybe learn to agree to disagree. And then move on, and then like, yeah, it's easy. It's like we are human and we all have our own thoughts, and we don't have to always agree 100% with like whatever other people said. And then like if we don't agree, we have to like explain why they don't agree. We don't agree, and then have arguments against it with evidence and logic. We don't just fucking like bash each other like that. And then of course they are toxic Vietnamese, but it's not a big portion at all. I have to tell you, because I am the member of a lot of like big communist Vietnamese groups, and like 80% of the time we like peacefully talking and discussing. But recently I have to deal with very toxic leftists from the West, both American or like white people, and both like even Vietnamese living in the US. And I think that that's something is going on there with especially the education system and the culture. Like you don't want to listen, and when you don't agree with anybody, you don't try to find an argument in good faith, an argument with logic, and you, like to disagree with other ideas by your own ideas and explain why. Instead, they just like mock me and then quote tweet me and screen capture me, and then they never have any concrete arguments against me. They just like laugh and mocked, and I was like, why is that? It's so toxic. Like, if you don't agree with me, I'm fine with good faith criticism. Come on. As I said, I'm fucking not perfect, and I'm fucking not Miss Know-it-all. All I want you to do is to respect me, even when you don't agree with me. And like when when I like, they are so toxic that I have to block them on my Twitter, and then they cry about that. They cry about I block people that disagree with me, and they act like I'm so toxic, and I just block everybody that don't agree with me, and I'm creating a fucking bubble or something for myself. But it's not. They're so toxic. There are so many comrades that don't agree with me, and I never block them. Even like, as I said, even like with Black Red Guard or EJ, saying that we don't all the time agree with each other, but we respect each other. We have our own thoughts and our own evidence to back what we believe, and we respect that. But those people, they are too so toxic, and not like they even use my race. They use my I don't know. I don't know. They made fun of me instead of. They made fun and they attacked my characteristics, my personality instead of approach to my idea. I hope that you understand what I mean. It's so weird. Like, I block them not because they don't agree with me. I block them because they're fucking toxic and they never want to listen. Like, seriously. And that kind of leftists call themselves Marxist-Leninist anarchist. I never have to deal with that kind of talk, the leftists in Vietnam, because at least like we learn to listen to each other and like respect each other's knowledge. Like whenever I said something, I have my own, the knowledge, background knowledge foundation for it, and my experience living here in Vietnam, and I believe in what I said. And if they don't agree with that, tell me their perspective, tell me their argument. They don't. And I don't even get it. And a lot of people, like, I block a bunch of Viet Americans who are very toxic and call themselves Marxist-Leninist. And they attack me like, why did I block like my own race? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I block anyone who are toxic, not just like white or brown or black or Vietnamese. I don't fucking care. The only thing I care is you're toxic or not, and if you have like any good faith approach to me or not. And like, just like because you're Vietnamese, it doesn't mean like I have to like be scared of you, or I have to like always like have to listen to your bullshit and your like of your mocking of me. Pretty frustrated. And then I think a part of it came from the education system over there, the culture over there. As I said, the capitalist indoctrination. Like, you're just being taught to talk and talk and talk and talk. You were taught to believe that your own thought, your own feeling, your own emotion is above them all. And this is the most important, that people have to listen to you and have to agree with you. And like, you care so much about being right or wrong. Like you don't learn to respect other people. You don't learn to act as a part of a community. It's alienation. It's selfishness. It's individualism. Okay? And then like, I never admit that. I never say that there's no like propaganda indoctrination in Vietnam. That's absolutely fucking not true. But the fact is that there is also indoctrination and propaganda in the Western world, okay? And you have to see it, you have to admit it, and you have to confront it. At least in Vietnam, we follow the socialism kind of education. It fucking doesn't mean that it teaches us to like think like robot and like to conform ourselves to a community. It's fucking not that. You know what the fuck are you talking about, those people? Like, I'm so fucking tired. What I meant when I say a socialist education system, it means that we just like fucking teach children to respect each other, to care about each other, and to listen more and to learn from people, not just fucking talk all day and expect everybody to fucking listen to you. Like, what kind of society when everybody wants to talk and nobody wants to listen? It's for fucking toxic society. And then look at what the society in Vietnam right now, especially in the pandemic. When the pandemic started, like me, I hated wearing masks. Seriously. Even though in Vietnam, maybe we have a more culture of wearing masks because of the dust, but we only wear it when we go out on the street on our motorbike. Okay, not like every fucking wear. And then like when the pandemic started, a lot of shit like when we saw like feel so uncomfortable. But we learned to care about old people. to care about sick people, people with like immunity system problem. And then we agree to do it because we care for the common good of the public. But look at what's going on especially in the USA. You care too much about your individual freedom. You don't feel comfortable wearing masks, so you don't wear mask. Fuck other people. Fuck like people with like immunity problems. Fuck sick people. Fuck old people. I don't care because I care about my own selfish, comfortable, like I want to be comfortable, and then fuck you all. Like that's the difference between the capitalist indoctrinated education system and a socialist indoctrinated education system. It's so ridiculous. And then like I don't even know what is. I don't know what we can do about that. Instead of I'm trying to point that out, and I'm being attacked by that. A lot of people got offended because I pointed out the problem that they are having to deal with. And though like a bunch of people, a bunch of leftists over there, like somewhere in their life journey, they found out like oh, anarchism actually good and communism, Marxism actually good. Okay, so like they proudly call themselves Marxists. Okay, I just touched the cable of my microphone. That's why. So shady. Okay, so back up. So like those leftists, somewhere in their life journey, they found out that anarchism actually good, Marxism actually good, communism actually good. So they proudly call themselves Marxist, Leninist, and leftists and anarchists. Okay, yeah, happy for them. Yes, they finally like break their eggshell. You understand what I mean, right? But they don't understand that they still keep their mindset of like, cause that the mindset of capitalism, the mindset of individualism, and they even maybe they don't even like recognize that yet. Like they still have very like individualism mindset that they tend to like, okay, I just learned that Marxism is so cool and it can be so cool, and then I think that my knowledge is the best. I am the smartest in the room right now, and everybody have to listen to me. I'm so smart right now. And do you remember the confidence map, the confidence like chart or something like that? Like you just learn a little bit of knowledge, just a little bit, but your confidence like level is like way up high. It's like, oh, I'm fucking smart now. Oh my gosh, I have to listen to me. It's so awesome. Meanwhile, like they dismiss people like me. I'm sorry, but like you cannot disagree with me. It's fine. But first, consider I am a fucking Marxist Leninist since I was 6 years old. And I fucking passed the Marxism, Leninism, Ho Chi Minh taught test in university, and I've been translating like Marxist book even until like every fucking day in my life now. At least like, can you please respect me somehow, because maybe I know what I'm talking about. And moreover, I have the life experience here on the ground in Vietnam. So maybe you want to listen to me first, and I'm always want to listen, always willing to listen to you. Because your perspective is very, very interesting too, because you've been living in the imperialism core, and then maybe you have a different thought with me. And then like the thing is to like have concrete argument, evidence, to prove that I'm right or wrong, instead of like mock and ask me question and laugh out loud about that. Like, what the fuck? And here's the thing too, like a lot of even leftists believe that like the leftists with liberal manners, I call them, They are leftists, but having fucking liberal manners. Like, they believe that the education system over there is so fair and there's no indoctrination. And like the education system in socialist country like Vietnam is so awful because like we teach them socialism propaganda and to conform individualities in there. Meanwhile, the education system in the US doesn't teach you anything about any ideology or indoctrination or propaganda. Like, I'm sorry. I both want to laugh in your face and I also want kind of pity you. Really. You don't even know that you're brainwashed. And then like, it's so ridiculous. I don't... Do you really believe that you can build whatever, an anarchist society or like communist society, socialist society without having like people with anarchist morals and anarchist values? Like, you think that you can change the world without changing yourself? I don't know, that's naive or that's like ignorant or what else? I don't know. You think the world will change without like every single part? Is that human don't have to change ourselves like that? A species. Actually, it's so naive. And how are we gonna do with it? Seriously, it's so strong over there. It's so freaking strong with it. Like, I don't remember exactly who said this, but it's a very important quote. Like, you can't change the world until you change yourself. Okay, something like that. So that's why when I said, like Ho Chi Minh said, like, in order to have a socialist society, we have to have socialist people with socialist manners and socialist values. And by that, by socialist manners, he meant like socialist, like we have to, as again, respect each other, learn to listen, and understand that everybody can be your teacher and you can be the teacher for everybody. And that society where we respect each other, we listen to each other, and we care for each other, we care about the common good. The society that everybody will be willing to sacrifice a little bit of their own comfortable for the safety of other people, of vulnerable people. Society that care for vulnerable people and for working class. That's fucking socialist manners that I was talking about. And socialist values are like, the purpose is to move toward communism, and we keep that values in our mind. Okay, that we are building a society, a better society for not just our generation, it's for our next generation, because like it's the socialist path can last for hundreds of years. Depends on the material condition of the society that you're building it. And like, it means like you're willing to sacrifice yourself for a greater good. Okay. Meanwhile, capitalist manners is to fucking worship rich people and like to be happy to be exploited by them, and like to be fed the dream that you will be them one day. So like as somebody said, without a right education system, the oppressed people, the dream of the oppressed people is to become the oppressor, become the oppressive. Okay? And that's it. The dream of people right now in the Western countries, the dream of the oppressed people right now is to become oppressive people, to become oppressor. Like, what the fuck? That's really a toxic and fucked up way of thinking. The dream of the oppressed people should be the dream of liberate the working class, the vulnerable people, the liberation of all liberal, of all like vulnerable people, the working class, not to be like the oppressive. Like, you get what I mean, right? It's fucking toxic way of thinking. And like yeah, a lot of people, like, they call themselves anarchists, Marxists, Leninists, leftists, but they still have that mindset. There are plenty of super rich people in Vietnam. Yes, they are, and that's a fucking problem. You know what? There is capitalism in Vietnam right now, and that is our fucking biggest problem. The biggest problem of Vietnam, or the biggest problem in Vietnam, come from capitalism, not from fucking socialism or communism. Are you fucking kidding me? The đổi mới reforms, again, I have to say this so many times, I'm kind of tired. Vietnam implemented the đổi mới reforms in the 90s, where we were forced to welcome capitalism into our country so we can survive. Okay? We didn't have a choice back then. We were devastated. We got heavy embargoes. We had no fucking choice. Or else we would be like even worse than North Korea right now. And we didn't want it. Come on, every country will choose their own path. Okay, and we didn't want to be like North Korea. So we had to choose a really tough step of bringing capitalism in Vietnam so we can borrow money from IMF and World Bank and other rich country, and to beg them to leave up all the embargoes that they set on us after the war. And like, so that's why in the society right now in Vietnam, socialism and capitalism coexist. And in our definition, it is our socialist path. So, okay, maybe you have your own definition of socialism and I respect it. Okay, and now I'm explaining to you my definition of socialism. I'm not talking that you're wrong and I am right. I'm talking about suitable or not suitable. I'm talking about a kind of definition that a nation chooses, or at least I respect you to respect. I expect you to respect a whole nation. Okay, so like in Vietnam, socialism means the transitional period from capitalism to communism. So that's why, of course, in that transitional period, capitalism and socialism will coexist and fighting on each other. And our purpose is to like oppress capitalism and then uphold socialism, uphold it high enough. So this is capitalism, this is socialism right now in Vietnam, right? Like they are fighting like this. And our official goal is by 2050, socialism will be upheld like this, and capitalism will be down like this, and then we will be socialist enough. Remember this is very important. We didn't say that, we don't say that we will be 100% socialist. No, we say it like we will be socialist enough to really strive toward communism, strive toward a classless and stateless society. Okay, so of course right now, Vietnam just fucking ended the world 45 years ago, and the very last embargoes on Vietnam were just got lifted like 15 years ago. So exactly, Vietnam just had 15 years to rebuild our country in total peace. What do you expect a country to develop in fucking 15 years? Those fucking morons, I can't even understand it. Like, what the fuck do they expect? Like, Vietnam's still struggling. And of course, yeah, there is capitalism in Vietnam, and it brings out corruption. Millionaires and billionaires. Okay? And that sucks. And I bet we still have the socialist value, socialist policies in Vietnam, such as we fucking have price stabilization, and it means that the government will make sure that the price of the essential products such as rice, meat, vegetable, medicine, gasoline will always stay low, so everybody can afford it. Okay, a lot of people, like, I don't know, they're fucked up mindset about like the government control something means that it's gonna be so bad, it's gonna be the worst. They said like the high price, like fucking it doesn't happen like that in Vietnam. When the government said that they put the price stabilization on any product, it means that they try to make sure the product price so cheap that everybody can fucking afford it. Okay, especially in the pandemic. And in the countries like in the US, you even argue about who's gonna pay your hospital bills, the hospital bills. Okay, a lot of people had to pay like thousands of dollars for that fucking test, while in Vietnam, a fucking poor country, all the treatment or the testing that related to COVID-19 are fucking free. Okay, so that's the socialist values that we are still struggling, even though we're fucking poor. Okay, and even the vaccine right now, we are developing our 2 domestic vaccine, and they are both really show really good results right now. But we are not rushing testing the vaccine because we have the privilege of taking as long time as we want to safely test the virus to make sure that it's safe for our people before injecting them. Because we contain the virus already. There's no COVID-19, no community in Vietnam for months already. Everybody's so safe and we don't have to rush. Meanwhile, other country, so many people are dying every day, like 22 million cases in the US and more than 300,000 deaths. So of course they have to rush the testing phase. And then now they are reporting a lot of side effects of the COVID-19 vaccine. So that's the thing. And another, like, we also have anti-imperialist programs, such as like all the big corporation that want to have a factory in Vietnam, they have to have at least be 50% owned by Vietnamese. And like any like foreigners who wants to buy a home and a land in Vietnam, they have to be owned by at least 50% by another Vietnamese. So that's our fucking anti-imperialism policy. There's no any real estate in Vietnam that own 100% by foreigners. No. Okay, so you again, you have to know what the fuck you're talking about, people. If you want to point out anything about Vietnam, and of course, I agree with you. Vietnam have plenty of problem, and this is far, it's a long way from perfect, and I admit it. Okay, all I want to do is you to look at Vietnam as it is, and do not buy into propaganda, anti-Vietnam propaganda. Do not buy into the lies that they talk about us. A lot of people said like, because said like, I just like praise Vietnam, I said good things about Vietnam, I am not allowed to fucking criticize Vietnam. I just ranted about my criticism for Vietnam, okay? The reason why I said good things about Vietnam a lot, because I want to fucking confront the lies and the anti-Vietnam propaganda all over the internet. I want to create kind of a balance, kind of an argument against those ideas. There's like corruption in Vietnam, bureaucracy, you know, like pollution. Of course, just like other countries in the world, fucking traffic jam. I hate it. I want to stop it. But again, dialectical materialism. Look at the good aspects too. God damn it. Oh, let me check the those super chat. Oh my god, my stream element got a problem. Oh no, I have to log in again. Hey, yay.
Luna, were you ever gonna add me?
Wait a minute. Sorry, Conrad. Sorry.
Hello, Luna.
I have to allow this.
Hello.
Oh, I'm sitting down and my lap is like numbing right now.
She's not looking at StreamYard and she doesn't have her here.
Okay, thank you for Thailand Oblender. Thank you for the super chat. And the message is, I think a lot of toxic leftists chase after clout. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. They want drama. They want clout. They want to be heard. They want to feel smart. Even though they don't have their own ideas and they don't have their own argument, but they want to act smart. So that's why, like, they. Thank you, Tato Dutra, for your super chat too. That's no message, but thank you so much. Okay. Again, I'll talk a little bit. Oh, what the hell?
You haven't been paying attention at all.
Wait a minute, I have to wear this. Why are you here?
Hear me? I just wanted to come on for a minute. You told me to come on for a minute.
Okay.
Can I give a little bit? So I was listening to your furious tirade. I was like, can I give a little? I mean, I have a little bit of a, from an anarchist perspective, right? This is just something that, because I see a lot of anarchists who, okay, if you ask an anarchist, and I am an anarcho-communist, and if you ask an anarchist, or if you accuse, like, because, you know, what's a common critique of communism? Communism always fails. Anarchism always fails. And then when you ask anarchists, like, what's a good example of, like, a anarchist revolution that's succeeded? You know, there's Catalonia, which was, like, actually pretty awesome and did a lot of things right, but they, you know, that was almost 100 years ago. So if you look today, the examples people usually use are Rojava, Northern Syria, and the Zapatistas. And the thing about it is that I've just noticed that, like, libertarian socialists and anarchists tend to, first of all, they're not anarchists, and I have to admit that they're not.
ANCAP, right?
Mean, well, no, they're not ANCAP, but, like, Rojava is communalist, I believe they call it. It's based on the works of Murray Bookchin, Murray Bookchin was an anarchist, and then stopped being an anarchist towards the end of his life, and then Öcalan, who kind of is the ideological founder of Rojava's ideology, developed their ideas based on Murray Bookchin's ideas. So it's not anarchism, and they have markets in Rojava, and they have capitalists, they have landlords in Rojava, they have borders, they have cops, they arrest people, they've even you know, they arrest, like, members of ISIS and that sort of thing. So they have prisons. I mean, and then the Zapatistas, like, have explicitly asked people not to call. There are anarchist Zapatistas, but the Zapatista movement is not an anarchist movement. It is it's a very heterogeneous movement that includes communists, anarchists, some more liberal folks, a lot of just, like, indigenous rights people who have indigenous ideology that, you know, like Zapatismo is, if you read about Zapatismo, it welcomes anarchism it's a big tent is what it is. And the more I study Zapatismo, the more I realize, and the more I look at the way that the left is functioning right now in the quote unquote West, Europe and North America, the more I understand why the Zapatistas have, and by the way, Rojava also, people that go to fight in Rojava and die in Rojava include Marxist-Leninists and anarchists and mutualists and liberals going to fight and die in northern Syria to fight ISIS and fight against fascism in Turkey. So I just don't understand why I get called, like, a tanky bootlicker for simply dispelling what I see as misinformation about Vietnam. And Luna gets completely dismissed and
you're anarchist, so, like, you're only allowed to see to believe in the lies about Vietnam and to see the bad aspects of Vietnam. You're not allowed to discuss any good aspect of Vietnam. That's what they want you to do.
I want to make this clear too, and I just really wish I could have a good faith conversation with some of these people that especially attack you, because the fact is what they do is they just dive bomb. They come in, they drop a really shitty, bad faith remark, and then you block them, which I understand, or you get pissed, which I also understand, like, because nobody will approach in good faith and have these conversations with us. But I want to ask them questions, like, do you support Northern Syria? Do you support the Zapatistas? If so, why, when they have a lot of the same issues that you don't like about Vietnam? I don't know. I have questions for them, and I'd love to have this
support any
conversation
successful revolutions. They support revolution in the book.
A lot of the people who fucking hate your guts support Rojava, even though there's capitalism in Rojava. I don't get, and Rojava has other problems too. Like, they have major problems with like suppressing Assyrians there. I've talked to Assyrians on my channel about this, but there's not the same kind of, I don't know, viciousness when there's an anarchist critique of like Rojava or the Zapatistas, generally speaking. I don't know. It strikes me as odd. And the other thing is that Luna is not, the other thing that I think I wish that more anarchists would realize is that Luna is not at all in any stretch of the imagination saying that, like, in the USA and Europe, we should follow the Vietnamese revolutionary path or build a state like Vietnam. It's quite the contrary. Luna, and this is like, I've never seen anybody who critiques Luna ever recognize this. I've never seen anybody who critiques Luna, I'm going to say it again, ever recognize the fact that Luna, in Luna's opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, Luna, the best form of revolution for like the USA specifically is an anarchist decentralized revolution that would be able to resist COINTELPRO and police intervention and that sort of thing. So I just don't get why we can't have these conversations in good faith.
My God, it's like I've been like desperately wanted to tell people to again, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about like anarchists or Marxist-Leninists, which one is right and which one is wrong. That the material condition of the society, of the country you want to have revolution will fucking decide it. And then, like, because like, and anarchist style revolution is more suitable to the USA than Vietnam. So that's why I support anarchists in the USA to have an anarchist revolution. Why can't they do the same on Vietnam?
It's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's, and then the last thing I wanted to say from an anarchist perspective is, in the critiques of Vietnam I've seen by anarchists and by libertarian socialists, they neglect to even mention the imperialist pressure that's been put on Vietnam. So they will,
it doesn't exist.
Put 100%, and I'm not saying, like, as anarchists, we can't criticize the Communist Party of Vietnam. I criticize it. Somebody made a comment earlier, actually. Somebody made a comment earlier about how, like, a lot of the members of the Communist Party have, like, really nice cars and stuff. I've made that critique myself. When Luna and I did a tour of the Imperial Palace, which was, you can go look it up. It was, like, just a couple months ago. And there was a Vin Group fucking meeting there, like a big seminar or something there. And a lot of these Vin Group executives were there, and they had really nice cars. And I was complaining about that. I share that critique. But, like, in these critiques of Vietnam and Vietnam Communist Party, which are valid and fair, but there's never any like acknowledgement that there has been, like, really brutal, savage, violent pressure put on Vietnam by the USA, by imperialists, by the World Bank, by the IMF. It's like, we will critique the World Bank and the IMF till the cows come home in every other country, but we don't even want to look at the role that they've played in the way that a market socialist. And I just did a whole stream yesterday with Trekkie in which we attacked and criticized market socialism as specifically ableist. So I have no love in my heart for capitalism or market socialism, but you have to admit that, first of all, I mean, like, I just want people to be have a little bit more nuance when they, first of all, you have got to admit that a lot of these, examples of, like, anarchic, or at least revolutions that conform to anarchist values in a way that we support them, like the Zapatistas and Rojava, they still have markets and they still have capitalists and they still have landlords. And the pressure, and Vietnam tried for over a decade to build a moneyless society. They had a moneyless society for over a decade. And the reason that they stopped, they were forced to stop, was because of the material scarcity that the USA and France and Japan and centuries of colonization and oppression imposed on them. They didn't have food. You know, it's not like it's a totally different situation than in the USA, where if we have a revolution, we make so much food in the USA that we throw a lot of it out. We have 6 empty houses for every homeless person in the USA. It's not the same. Any revolution we have in the USA is just not going to look like Vietnam's. And the history of Vietnam. I mean, it's like, that's what I just don't get. Like, people don't want to acknowledge it, even like acknowledge it. It's frustrating to me. And then I get, I don't know. And then I get like super frustrated with the way that people present their critiques, because they're not going to change any minds either. I mean, I really hate if people, if there's another leftist that does something that I think is shitty, or if I disagree with it, I'm not going to go and just be like, hey, you fucking bootlicker, you loser, you know, just like spew a bunch of insults.
Exactly. Because you know why? Because they don't have any concrete argument. They don't have their own ideas. They just want to chase after people's ideas, and they want to like shit on their ideas without having their own. And they want to act like they are so smart. They want people to think that they are so smart. They found problem in these people's ideas. Without even mean why they don't even have their own thought.
Yeah, it's like I'm not even saying that you can't, like, you don't have to fucking even like Vietnam, but like, if you're going to criticize it, try to do it in a productive manner where you might actually change somebody's mind about it. Because the vitriol, I don't know, I just don't see it accomplishing anything. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, I don't know. But then also, like, the threat perception is bizarre to me, because like tomorrow during the inauguration, you know, there's a very high chance that all hell might break loose. They just arrested 12 National Guard members who were fucking fascists and that were going to help. There's 12 members that, you know, the National Guard, Luna, are like the militia in the USA, like the army-owned militia, basically. And then it's like the parallel to the Vietnam militias, best as I can find. So anyway, they're the ones that provide a lot of the security, and they're the ones that should be, you know, theoretically facing against the fascists if there is some kind of coup attempt or riot or whatever, like we saw at the Capitol building. So 12 members of the National Guard just got arrested for being fascist sympathizers who were plotting for the 20th. And there's armed activity planned in all 50 states. And people are taking this time to focus on Vietnam. It just doesn't make any, I don't know, like, what's the threat of it? But then also, I got to look at you and me, Luna, and say, like, we need to also do a better job of just like maybe just disengaging, because I was thinking about this a lot this morning. Like, a lot of these people, these dogmatists, whether they're, and by the way, I'm not going to say, I have to mention, there are Marxist-Leninist dogmatists out there who are some of the most toxic people on the internet. Okay. I've had a lot of fucking vicious attacks at me from Marxist-Leninists. So there are dogmatists in every camp. There are libertarian dogmatists, Marxist-Leninist dogmatists, liberal dogmatists. You know, like, that's going to happen. But maybe they shouldn't be our priority either, because maybe we shouldn't be trying to preach to the converted anyway. I mean, I've just been thinking, like, how can I use my channel to reach more liberals and more, like, I don't even want to be, like, my goal was never really to, I want to build, like, you know, kind of a community with my channel, with non-compete, of leftists. And my puppet shows, for instance, are very leftist oriented. I don't think that, like, non-leftists would enjoy those at all. But my goal with my channel has always been to try to get liberals to understand the basic ideas of socialism and communism and anarchism, and just get them. And I've never presented myself as an expert. I just want to get people started on that journey and questioning capitalism. And I feel like we've gotten to this point where maybe we're too insular and we're focusing inward into the left too much. I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, dogmatism is such a big problem on the left, and it could fucking destroy our entire movement. So I don't know. I mean, these are questions I have right now, and I don't know how to solve them. I mean, I have Luna and I have both been, you know, probably overly emotional about this stuff because it's been stressful, and we've both been like receiving targeted harassment and stalking. I consider stalking, like, if I block somebody if I block somebody, I think that's a pretty clear signal that I don't want to interact with that person. And I think that that's fucking fair game.
And they should understand that to never engage with me again.
When people start circumventing blocks and shit like that, I consider that stalking personally. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it makes me fucking hella uncomfortable. And, you know, I've had, you know, Luna, I don't know about you, Luna, but I've had people threaten violence. You know, it's like, and these are supposed to be leftists. And the thing about it is I have a pretty thick skin with right-wingers, especially, or with liberals who attack me. I can take that, but I do admit that I might have like too thin of a skin when it comes to leftists being abusive.
Exactly.
Because I think
we feel like it hurts. They're supposed to be our comrades, and we are being attacked by our own comrade, and that's it. Here's the thing, the same thing now. Finally, you guys understand a little bit of our feeling when the North and the South of Vietnam had to fight. And the South of Vietnam were like, there's a puppet government in the South of Vietnam. And we feel betrayed like that by our own blood and flesh. Like those imperialist asshole enemies came to the South and they gave people indoctrination and like lies and propaganda. And then our own brothers and sisters bought into those lies and indoctrination, and then they hate us. They fought against us. It hurts.
I saw.
Same thing
I do want to mention too that where is it at? Oh, Mackenzie Burton said, "I agree with EJ, but isn't the idea of market socialism a nuanced transition away from capitalism?" I mean, in some versions of it is, in some versions it's not. There's for instance mutualism, which is a form of anarchism, which is it's supposed to be like a permanent market socialism where every worker owns their own means of production. You can look into that if you want to, and that would not be. That's I guess like the goal of the revolution for a mutualist. I consider mutualist comrades, even though, again, I had a whole stream yesterday with Trekkie about how money and markets are inherently ableist, and Trekkie actually swayed me on a lot of that stuff. As far as a transition state, even Trekkie agreed it's probably okay as long as there's a commitment to that transition. And then the thing with Vietnam is, like, by the way, like, you have to make a decision. Like, first of all, Luna says this all the time on Twitter, and it's a point you got to understand. They won their revolution, and they don't have to give a shit what I say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can make my critiques, I can say what I want to say, but at the end of the day, Vietnam, you know, there is also the idea of self-determination. And in my encounters with Vietnamese people on a daily basis, they seem more or less committed to socialism in the way that they've been going about building it. I mean, you know, so anyway, but like, I guess one question we would have as outsiders critiquing and looking to learn from Vietnam, I guess, you know, what from the victories and from the failures, from the successes and the failures in Vietnam. One question we would always want to ask is, is there evidence? Because the idea is, you know, as Luna and as the Vietnam Communist Party presents it, is the idea is they were forced to adopt markets and capitalism, and they are committed to this transition. And you'd have to look for evidence, you know, that this transition is actually ongoing. You know, and so you'd be looking for signs and signals for that. I personally see progress having been made very rapidly in the time that I've been here in terms of accomplishing the stated goals of the Communist Party of Vietnam. Whether or not I agree with those goals is like the best form of revolution or whatever, but I do feel like there has been delivery on a lot of those commitments. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, it's like just looking like... I can sit here
as an anarchist and criticize. I'm almost done. And then I'm probably going to leave soon, but I just wanted to... I mean, I could sit there and criticize the plan, but as far as the plan goes, everything that they said in the 90s when they started Doi Moi, which was... I mean, they've been following the plan, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They have hella increased the quality of life for Vietnamese people.
For fuck's sake, we have plan and we know what the fuck we are doing. Not like the US.
It's not the plan I would choose, and it's not the plan I think is appropriate for the USA at all. Right? And I'm focused on the USA, right? I'm not going to tell Brazilian people how to do. I mean, I'm from the USA. I grew up there. I've lived there for most of my life, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. And as somebody who has benefited a lot from the imperialism that the USA has, like, here's my thing. I'm almost done, and then I promise I'll shut up. But as somebody who
talk fast,
as somebody who was raised, who benefited so much from the imperialism in the sense that, you know, I grew up in a Navy family, in the middle class, and you know, I'm not saying my family is responsible for it, but just collectively, Americans benefited from the Vietnam War, from the military-industrial complex, from imperialism, from all those things. And so I feel like my first responsibility as a white American is ending. It's like Trekkie said yesterday, and it's a great point. The first priority for any white American should be land back, decolonization. And those will push towards our ends as anarchists. And then the second priority I have is anti-imperialism. And ending the exploitation of black people and the prison state in the USA. Those are my first priorities. You know what I mean? Like, is undoing the damage that I have myself benefited from. So I don't know. I mean, we could have these discussions and debates, but like, I just feel like the priorities are fucked. The methods of discourse and the lack of good faith.
Vietnam should be your very least concern right now. Why do you spend so much time criticizing and talking shit about Vietnam? Meanwhile, your own home is fucking burning, and you're not doing fucking anything about that. I don't get it. Like, what the fuck? We are not victims, and we don't need your pity. Actually, we pity you.
Class consciousness, building class consciousness is also a priority of mine as well. Yeah, I mean,
and that's when I talk about talking about the socialist education in Vietnam. That's when we teach our children fucking class consciousness, and they call it indoctrination.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and it's like, and I want to just say too, if you're watching this and your blood's boiling and you want to talk about these things with me, I welcome discussions. We could talk on stream or off stream. I have had a small handful of people come to me and have these discussions with me in good faith, and when I have, I feel like they've been productive. Even if we walked away disagreeing with each other, we understand each other better after those conversations. So instead of coming in and just leaving a shitty, snarky comment to get a few more likes and retweets, reach out to me or Luna in good faith if you have problems with what we're saying. And I swear to God, if you're not doing it like if you're not doing it in like a performative, shitty manner, we'll talk to you.
Exactly. Like when I might tweet about like this Ho Chi Minh quote, you know, about like the to have a socialist society, we have to have socialist people with socialist manners and socialist values. So if people approach me in good faith, they will ask like, so what did you mean when you say like socialist manners and socialist values? What are they? I feel like it's indoctrination. Can you explain? That's a fucking good faith question. But instead, people fucking screenshot me. They didn't even retweet it so I can see it. They fucking screenshot me and then like laughing like, oh, laugh out loud, what is socialist manners? Like blah, blah, blah. That is a sign of fucking bad faith, toxic, non-existent argument. So that's why you deserve a block. And then you cry about it and say like, oh, Luna just blocked everyone that disagree with her. She's so shitty. Like,
there's a difference between disagreeing and being like just mean-spirited and abusive to somebody. I mean, I don't know. Now listen, the thing about class consciousness, Luna and I mean, like Trekkie and I were talking about this yesterday. Land back is a fucking vehicle for class consciousness, and so is abolishing whiteness. And I'll tell you why.
You know, you're right, and you know what.
In the USA, at least, I don't know about in Europe because I'm not from Europe, or I don't even know about Canada or any place else. But in the USA, you know, capitalism has been so intertwined with racism, the police state, and the genocide of indigenous people, and it hurts us all. All of these things hurt us all together. And that's why intersectionalism, I think, is very important. And land back, if we did manage to, I mean, it's like I saw some people screenshot Luna on Twitter, which I respond to. People, I quote tweet them or reply. I either will, if I quote tweet, which I rarely do, I do it with more with like fascists and stuff, or like blue check liberals. But if I quote, I'll either quote tweet, or if I'm going to do the screenshot thing, I'll take their name and their username and their any identifying information
because we want to approach to the idea themselves, not the personality.
Yeah, right. I do that a lot with people, especially if they have smaller accounts. But like, yeah, I mean, just like, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe is it? it just feels like it's not productive. It's wheel spinning, and it's dangerous to the movement, because even within anarchism, like, we're spending way more time on this than we should, in my opinion. We should be building organizations and doing direct action, mutual aid, stuff like, I think that, just the stuff that we talk about on our channels a lot, as far as doing what we can to actually go out into the community and engage and turn people onto the ideas of socialism. I mean, like, anarchism, the whole idea of an anarchist revolution is to mobilize the working class to lead themselves, right? Like, we don't want to be telling everybody exactly how to think and how to do this, but we do want to be kind of like, I don't know, like, I've been reading about, talk a little bit, Luna, about because I also have a question for you, because I've been reading Gramsci talking about how we need to build our own culture to counter. Can you talk more about Ho Chi Minh's ideas about building culture and
Okay, I can talk about that. But first, I want to address this. Like, Rafani Haha said, like, I like Luna's videos, but I really don't like how she calls every leftist who says anything bad about Vietnam a white Western chauvinist. It is a bad thing. Like, did I do that? Did I call every leftist who say bad thing about Vietnam Western chauvinist?
Let's test it out. Vietnam has way too much corruption, and the pollution is out of control, exacerbated by capitalism, which needs which there needs to be more abatement on capitalism.
I just complained the exact same thing.
Did Luna call me? I mean, I have plenty of criticisms. I hate that they're like billionaires,
You hate our death sentence.
I hate the death sentence. Absolutely. I'm a prison abolitionist and certainly a death sentence abolitionist. And that's something that Luna and I strongly disagree with each other.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Arafani Haha. I call them white Western chauvinists when they said bad things about Vietnam that based on lies. Of the articles such as fucking BBC, VOA, Reuters, Foreign Policy, okay. When they have good criticism about Vietnam with clear evidence, I totally agree with it.
I've only seen you call somebody a chauvinist if they're like displaying dogmatism in a, in a toxic way. I don't know. That's been my experience. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of Western white chauvinists.
And maybe I call Western chauvinists when, like, at first they approach me with a question. Okay. And then I explain to them the situation and the truth that I can find in Vietnamese that they will never know. They dismiss me. They didn't believe me. Like, oh, because I am selling to them the Vietnamese propaganda, and then that's why they still keep buying into. So that's why I call them fucking white Western chauvinists when they dismiss people like me who have life experience in Vietnam and offer them other evidence, other facts that I can find from the sources that they can never find. And then
there's a pattern to it when usually the way it happens is somebody will come to you and they'll say, actually I see it like all the time. They'll say, Vietnam's not really socialist. And then you'll say, according to our ideology, we are socialist, and here's why, and you'll explain it to them. And then they'll say, well, you're wrong. That's not true. That's not right. And it's like, they didn't
even make an argument. They didn't have any argument. They didn't have any
sometimes they'll
you're wrong.
Quote Marx or something, but they don't take into consideration that you're, the totality of your argument. Or it's like they just like dismiss you and Ho Chi Minh, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, that seems like chauvinism to me. It's like, I might disagree that, with certain aspects of whether or not Vietnam is socialist, but I certainly don't disagree that according to Ho Chi Minh and Vietnam's ideology, you have your own definitions for things. And then it's like, I don't know.
We have a whole framework. We have a whole education system. We have a whole, a series of textbooks to strengthen our point, and I just explained to you. I didn't even want to tell that we are right and you're wrong. Okay, you have to follow our definition. Like, for fuck's sake, no, I just explain our definition and hope you to respect that. And you can have your own definition, it's fine. The one thing is like, just don't dismiss a whole nation and believe that the whole nation, the choice is so wrong and their own thought is the only way. Their definition is the universal truth that everybody have to believe and follow. For fuck's sake, that's the chauvinism here. Okay, and like when I show them the evidence and I get like videos with all the evidence that I can find, and they didn't even like argue about like, okay, what's wrong, and they give them their own evidence. They just like, you're wrong. It's just like fucking rude, you know, and that's fucking chauvinism. Or if you don't think that that's chauvinism, how do you describe those people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that I haven't ever seen Luna. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen Luna like. Usually, people are very like dismissive of Luna, and that's when she calls him a white chauvinist. Like, that's. I don't know. Maybe I have like a clouded perception or something, but in my experience, people criticize Vietnam in the stream chat all the time. I don't know, and it's just on the Twitter thing when people are doing it.
I guess I have to make a video where I just only criticize Vietnam. So whenever people criticize me for not criticizing Vietnam, I just fucking post that video. I'm so fucking tired.
Maybe you should. Maybe that's a good idea. This is an interesting comment from Matthias. I don't. So Luna always says, in the global South, an idea that is gaining some traction is left nationalism. And Brazil has some doctrines called tribalismo and social-syndicalism. I think this is a good way to go. I'm not familiar with.
Yeah,
I mean, I know about syndicalism, the anarchist form of syndicalism, but I don't know if that's the same thing as socio-syndicalism. I don't know. We should look those up, Luna. Curious about that.
Write it on your note. Stream note for me.
Wait, I gotta look at it again. Tribalismo.
Tribalismo.
English language.
Tribalismo and socio-syndicalism.
Yeah, if you know of any English language.
Yeah, remember that, and then maybe I'll answer this question next week. Pretty interesting. Okay. And what about like left nationalism, but in Brazil and in global South? So, like when you're talking about nationalism in imperialized and oppressed countries, it's different than the nationalism in the imperial country. So please. I will look for information about it.
Tricky, yeah. I'll check out those books on Brazilian anarchism for sure.
Okay, cool. Hey, I have some super chat that I need to address. Thank you, comrade, from Tania A. And the message says, Chomsky says Americans like communist ideas but are scared of the world. Okay, like the communist ideas but scared of the world. Also, your thought of Trotskyism. Yeah, exactly. You're scared of the world because the fucking rest scared. It capitalist indoctrination, as in the name of my MOONCAST today. And again, people love capitalism because they don't understand what it is, and they hate communism also because they don't understand what it truly is. That's a problem. Like, everybody loves the ideas of the equality between everybody, right? And the vulnerable people and working class being protected, and everybody, all the basic needs will be secured. Who doesn't love to have a house and like food and clothes to live and free healthcare since the moment they were born? But somehow capitalism, by like decades of indoctrination, made you hate the word communism, even though you don't understand what the fuck it actually means. That's fucking a big problem. And Trotskyism, what do you think about this?
You asking me? Chomsky? Yeah, I mean, I've made a video on Chomsky myself.
Trotsky.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky.
Trotskyism.
Oh, Trotskyism. Trotskyism?
Yes.
Like the Trots? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know enough.
Trotsky.
I don't understand the Trotsky ML split. That's something that mystifies me. I've had people try to explain it to me. It all seems like it's based on shit that happened 100 years ago to me. So it's all based on like Trotsky.
So here's the thing.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't understand.
Before having the Russian, the October Revolution, Trotsky and Lenin like hated each other. They had like fights with each other before having the October Revolution. But you know what? In just a few weeks before having the revolution, they still fought each other. The leftists infighting, yes.
Yeah.
But they still work together to have the fucking October Revolution. They still join each other. They put aside those disagreements. That's the tactical unity I've been trying so hard to talk about.
They did murder Trotsky later.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
That's not the best. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about that history or anything to really make any comment on it at all. If anybody has any resources to help me understand Trotskyism and how it's distinguished from Marxist-Leninism, I would
actually Vietnamese
like
we don't really care about Trotsky and Trotskyism. No, we do not.
It's beyond my understanding. I've never really read Trotsky or anything. Oh, you got another super chat? Okay, I have another comment after that. Go ahead.
Okay. Dallas the Matt said, narcissism in American society is American society. Narcissism. Yes.
Narcissism is American. Yes, I saw that one.
It's American society. Yeah, it is.
No, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, the culture in the USA is so fucked. The way that we're all raised, and I'm still having to dismantle it for myself. That's why I've really been trying to think more about the Gramsci position on hegemony and on building our own culture to counter and attack that culture, the capitalist hegemonic culture.
Can you explain to me what is narcissism? Like, what does it actually mean?
Well, I don't know. This may or may I don't understand the nuance of this. This may or may not be ableist. I don't really know. But narcissism is basically when you don't value other people, you only value yourself.
You just want attention, right?
No. It's more like okay, so like there's sociopathy, and again, I don't know if I may or may not be unintentionally being ableist. Let me know if I am, but sociopaths like have no empathy for other people, right? And then narcissists, they basically the theory is they value other people, but they cannot empathize with them. They can't imagine what it's like to be somebody else, and so that creates problems with their interactions. To the point where like, and so it's like, for instance, if I do something that makes you mad, but then like I have no idea why you're mad because I can only see my own perspective.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I don't really want to talk about. Yeah, I don't want to really talk about that from like a individualist psychological perspective, but in a sociological, cultural way, I think Americans have problems with empathy and with understanding about other people, other people's perspectives.
Yes, it sounds a little bit like egoist. It's like you care about your own self, your own thought, your own perspective, and you don't really care about.
They're not the same. Like egoism is like a philosophical position, though. I mean, yeah, it's like. I'm going to reel it back a little bit and just say what I agree with is that American culture is very selfish and individualistic, and we need to work on that and build a better culture for ourselves on the left. And it's like Zizek was talking about this, and I think it's really interesting that back in the 60s, the people who had to like fuck you about society, and they were very countercultural, and they had very like they were kind of like aggressively resisted the mainstream culture were leftists, but these days like the alt-right seems to be kind of doing that more in a toxic, horrible way, obviously not in a good way. The amount of shruggery is insane and sad. I'm not sure what like who is am I displaying shruggery or so you said I'm sorry, you said exactly EJ, so I guess you're agreeing with me. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that. No, right. Shruggery is a good way to put it. Thank you. I'm sorry that I'm not processing things very well.
Shruggery.
Shruggery, like just, it's not my problem. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
So, and then this ties into it because I wanted to address this comment too. The most frustrating thing argument I have with an anarchist is over what workers own the means of production means. The conflict is between interpreting workers as a class versus atomized group of producers. Trekkie and I talked about, if anybody wants to learn more about a lot of stuff, first of all, subscribe to Trekkie69 on twitch.tv/Trekkie69, but also watch the stream we did yesterday on my channel, Non-Compete. But Trekkie was talking a lot about workerism, which is a big problem on the left, and that includes anarchism, which is this idea that we center the worker too much at the expense of people who are disabled, people who are like who are like homemakers, you know, or caretakers. We only seem to value on the left in a lot of our rhetoric people who actually work and produce for the quote unquote political economy. But there are so many people who are not workers who also who have just as much values. And there's like people who are just completely disabled and they can't do anything. And they still have just as much value as you or I do. So I feel like we overemphasize, and maybe we should like do some correction on that. We overemphasize the idea of workers owning the means of production. I think that every worker should be a stakeholder, and they should be a democratic workplace where like they get to select their own management or coordinators or whatever, and they get to set their own workplace rules and that sort of thing. But that should not extend to workers as a class, as distinguished from people who can't work or do other kinds of work. They like there shouldn't be a hierarchy where the workers who actually go and work in factories and offices and jobs have some kind of hierarchical position over disabled people, homemakers, caretakers, people with mental illness. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to. So that's something that I think anarchists need to be thinking about as well. And it's a, you know, it's a, in it, who knows, like, you know, the answers are not easy to find on these things, but I think one thing is just understanding that politics is a system of design and designing our systems so that everyone gets a voice and everyone's taken care of in a, you know, equitable way. Trekkie talked about this a lot yesterday, so check that out if you're interested in that.
Wait, another super chat from Conrad, Trashing Matt. You and Luna were a very big part of my journey to the left. Welcome.
Me too. I mean, she's been a big part of my journey because I met Luna right when I was starting to understand communism and those sorts of things. So we've kind of, I mean, she's been a big part of me understanding.
And you taught me about anarchism too, and I agree with a lot of your ideology too.
I know. I mean, I know that you're critical of hierarchy and you advocate for decentralized anarchist forms of revolution in the USA. So
because like anyway, the goal of communism is to have a stateless and classless society. It's the same goal. So like we know it. So like we also don't agree with that. We just don't agree about the current state, the transitional period. That's it. The very last super chat from Conrad. Oh, this is hard for me to read your name. Oh, joke. Oh, Detu Samors. Joko Detu Samors. Okay, I try my best. Thank you so much for the super chat. Your name is really a challenge for me. Some people should understand theory better before criticizing revolutionary processes in other countries. Exactly. And here's the thing, like the very important thing that I want to address is like we Vietnamese revolutionaries, we don't treat like theories as Bible. We use them as our foundation, you know, our guidelines. And we will like creatively, again, cap locks, creatively apply theories into practice. That's very important. And that's why I once said, like, I wish that said to a lot of amount of anarchists who criticize the revolution in Vietnam for not being like pure idealists and follow whatever Matt said. Okay, that's like the material conditions, they change every day. And it's the material conditions now are very, very different from the material conditions 200 years ago when Marx was writing his ideology. Okay, So like we have to adapt. Human, we have to adapt. We keep our guidelines, we keep our goals, we keep our values, but the way to do it, the way to get there, we have to be different. And they are gonna be different. Depends on depends on every societies too. So that's why do not just fucking quote tweet Lenin, Marx, Ho Chi Minh, or anybody else, and criticize other people for not following exactly what they said. Meanwhile, you can even have your own successful revolution in your own society. Because once you have it, once you can have a successful revolution, you will know how hard it is and how difficult it is to run a post-revolutionary society. That's
another thing is that you just also have to remember that I've been diving quite a bit deeper into theory lately, and in a lot of ways, and I'm starting to realize that in terms of translation, there's stuff where there's like massive debate over how things are translated from Marx or from Lenin or from Ho Chi Minh or from Kropotkin. Well, I don't know if Kropotkin wrote in English natively, but there's definitely issues with that as well. So like I read a lot of theory, and I encourage everybody to read theory. I think that we as leftists and as an anarchist, I think we all need to equip ourselves with understanding why we want the things that we want and be able to have cogent responses when people ask questions and have good plans to put into place. And I think theory helps with all that. But using it as like a Bible where you look at everything somebody said and you specifically follow that makes no sense. For one thing, Lenin wrote, that his ideas were very much focused on Russia during the Tsarist, early 20th century
100
era.
years ago. And
he said, don't follow this plan if you are not in Russia in the early 20th century under the Tsar.
Yes, and Ho Chi Minh wrote it for specific Vietnam in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, in the situation when we still had the war with France and the USA and Japan. We don't have a war right now, so we can't even use exactly what Ho Chi Minh wanted us to do at that time. And again, like about Marx, he was talking about the Eurocentric countries. Okay, like his point was very user-centric, like before the industrialization revolution even. So different. So please don't treat it like the Bible and then criticize everybody for not being pure.
This is an interesting question from Bloxycat. That Bloxycat is a South Vietnamese, identified as being South Vietnamese, and says, the 13th congressional meeting started and they already announced a list of candidates, yet classifying it. Do you know what that means? I don't understand it, but like, is it secret? Is that what it means? Like classified? I don't know. I would love your thoughts on it, considering I'm not a communist. Do you know anything about what we're talking about? The 13th.
We are having the 13th. We are about to have our 13th National Assembly Summit, something like that, in like 10 days or something like that. 5 days, in 5 days, in 5 days.
Are you familiar with that? They already announced a list of candidates, yet classifying it. Do you know what that means? Do they mean like keeping it secret?
I don't get it. No.
Candidates for election. You were talking about the candidates for election, that there were like 480 candidates or something.
400, 500.
I have no clue. Is it secret, the list of candidates? Is that what they mean?
No.
Do they list all the names?
I don't think so. Why should be?
I don't know.
And even like I just heard the speech of our president last night on television, and he said that like he hoped that we can vote for like we will like wisely choose the candidate to run the next 5 years of the Congress. And
do you know who the candidates are? I'm just trying to figure out what the classifying it means.
Here, right?
I don't know.
I am Googling it.
Okay. While Luna looks into that, I'm going to read the super chat from Dallas the Mad that says, what useful psychedelics have under socialism? Recreation, therapy, same uses they have now, but there won't be any kind of criminalization, I guess. I don't know many. I haven't seen many leftists who have like hangups about drugs to the extent that they want them to be banned. I mean, there are medical conditions of addiction that need to be addressed, but criminalization is certainly not the way to address those medical conditions. You could think of, I'm not an expert on addiction, but it's either a medical condition or perhaps maybe it's some form of like mental illness, or maybe it's like some confluence or some tertiary phenomena, but it's not. It's something that needs to be treated with humanity and compassion, just like any other illness, not something that we criminalize and throw people in prison for. That's just, if I could list one thing about society in the USA that is just completely incomprehensible to me, it's the prison state and the way that we criminalize these things. I mean, there's just I can't understand it at all. But as far as like uses, I don't know. Maybe that's something that we would be able to explore more freely if there's any functionality to psychedelics in a post-capitalist society, or at least a post-prison society, which I don't think you can abolish prisons without fully abolishing capitalism, because they reinforce each other so much. What is corporatism? Why do capitalists always push their downfalls on corporatism? I can explain this as a former right-wing libertarian. You're still researching, Luna, right? Just let me know. I'll just talk while you research. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still reading.
Okay. Corporatism. Okay, so let me put on my former right-wing libertarian glasses for a moment. Okay. So your problems are not with capitalism, they are with corporatism, you see? Because corporatism is when, this is an ANCAP, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. Corporatism is when the state and corporations unite and they create a diabolical power construct. But the only way to eliminate corporatism, which is what gives corporations so much power, corporations get their power from the state, you see. If you get rid of the state, then corporations won't have all of this power. Why? Because I said so. I've never had an ANCAP, and I used to believe this, which is what really boggles my mind. The idea is that if we get rid of the state, then competition will be so free that no single company will be powerful enough to have the kind of power that corporations have in society now. And we'll have more smaller and mid-sized businesses, which will increase the competition, which is healthy and produces excellence. But what I don't understand is how abolishing the state prevents a corporation from having tremendous power. I mean, if you look at the most laissez-faire in human history, it was like the Gilded era, when you had like John D. Rockefeller and Hearst and all these like fucking incredibly powerful, violent, ruthless capitalist robber barons. And the state, it's and like the police evolved from those corporate, Are you
talking to ANCAP about ANCAP?
This is a discussion of ANCAPs. Yeah, this is a discussion of ANCAPs.
Yeah,
like if you look at the I'm drawing a blank. The Pinkertons, that's what you would get if you got rid of the state. You'd still have the police. They'd be like the Pinkertons, and you'd still have prisons. They'd be like corporate private prisons.
You would truly have a society that run by oligarchy.
And then another thing is that if you really go down the road to the very end, you're like, okay, well, if because they say like we should privatize the police, privatize all these things, and I'm like, okay, well, so what happens if you have your police and I have my police, and we have a conflict, and we just can't disagree, like, and basically it's always gonna devolve into warlordism and basically feudalism.
And what about poor people? They don't have their own police.
Oh, they could rent. They pay a service fee to have the police provide coverage. That's sincerely their.
So what's the difference between having a state police with the private police when you have to pay to have them anyway? I could never understand the logic of ANCAPs. I could never understand it. Like, what the fuck?
I have no idea. So
I just look at the candidate list. Yes, we don't announce the candidate list. What the fuck is going on?
Is that not normal?
I never thought about this. I don't know. That's very weird. I don't know why they don't announce. They just said that like they already got a list of candidates and then they will join the big meeting to vote for those candidates, and they don't tell we who are those candidates. Maybe to protect their own identities or something. I don't fucking know.
I have no idea. I'm
Creepy, right?
I guess I reserve comment because I have no fucking clue what any of that means. But maybe you could look more into it and try to figure it out. I don't know. I feel like transparency is so that would, if that's true, I would say that's a criticism I have of Vietnam because I think that transparency is very important.
They should announce the name and the name, at least the name, we know who they are, so we can like look for like what the hell. I don't agree with this.
Maybe are they going to announce it later? Is it just maybe not? I don't know. I have no idea.
They said that they already approved the candidate list, means that it's official. That means that they should have published it.
So that might be another criticism Luna has of Vietnam. You know, Luna, who never says anything negative about Vietnam, or me. It sounds like bullshit to me, based on the little that I just heard about.
It is bullshit. It is bullshit to me. Yes, like what the fuck? I don't even know who might be our new president or prime minister, vice prime minister. What the fuck? I want to know who they are.
Are they like don't counting want to it? I don't know. Are they like still finalizing the results? I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point, so I have no idea. I mean, but then there's the question, which is like, this is something that's always annoyed the fuck out of me about the USA. It's totally apples and oranges, but this is just, it's one of the reasons why I think that transparency and removing hierarchies in democracy is so important. But it's like, how do they even, like, I've been involved with the selection of political candidates in the USA, and it's so mystifying. Like when they decide like who's gonna, like, because the way that it works on the local level, I know more about because I used to work in political communications in South Carolina, and they will like basically come to people and say like, all right, you're going to be the candidate, like the Democratic or both parties do it. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party will come to people and they'll be like, you're going to be the candidate for your district in the state Congress, and we're going to back you. And it's like, they just make it happen. You know what I mean? Like there is like some kind of nomination process and like a election process or whatever, but it was already like fucking figured out by the Democratic and Republican Party leaders well in advance. I've seen this happen all the way through because they'll come to me and my company when I was doing political communication marketing. They would come to us when they're like, okay, this is the person that's going to be the candidate. Don't tell anybody, this is confidential, but this is going to be the candidate. And it's just like so fucking not transparent. And they're already like horse trading and stuff. And that's why I think transparency is like so fucking vitally important with democracy. Like this is the thing. And I think Trekkie made the point, like you could have a vibrant democracy within a one-party state. I certainly think that you could have a better democracy in a one-party state than in a two-party state if it's a socialist party. But that all being said, it depends on how it's designed.
Yes.
The design of democracy is so important. And it's like the USA's design is like probably the worst system I can imagine. There might be worse.
It's like a fascist and a neoliberal, and you call it democracy, freedom of choice.
It's like democratic in the most nominal way. In Vietnam, I mean, I'm much less like versed on it than Luna, but from what I understand, I mean, like people do vote in elections. It's very hierarchical, which I disagree. Another criticism I have of Vietnam for people that say I never
very hierarchical. We cannot vote directly for our like president. We vote like level by level.
And I'm not a big fan of that kind of system because, like, you know, for pretty obvious reasons.
Me too, and that's why, like, down in the city we are living in, they're starting to have like people can vote directly for the mayor of the city, and happy about
that's another example. Okay, so there are things that's a really good example of like a positive change. I do think it's great. They're going to have a direct election for the mayor of Da Nang, which I don't think they've ever done before, right?
Yes, so like the very first city in Vietnam, actually.
But you know, like the point of the matter is Vietnam's not perfect at all, and we have criticisms. And if it's true that they've kept this list of candidates a secret for some reason, I would heavily criticize that. I can't imagine, unless like the only reason I could possibly think of is like if you were actually in the middle of a war or something, and it was like you were trying to protect them from assassination, or like I could think of some bonkers, weird scenarios, but like
not here right now. Weird.
Things are like
I have to look for more information about that.
But then
like
again,
maybe they will announce later. Maybe or
there's
maybe not.
maybe there's a procedural reason. You know what I mean? Like a bureaucratic reason. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if that is the case, then it's fucked up, in my opinion. But, you know, I guess we'll find out.
Malcolm X Studio. Thank you for the super chat. People before theory. Bradford.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, then that Malcolm X Studio had another good question earlier in the chat I saw. I can't find it now, but said, do we agree? Like there some people, and I think Bernie Sanders has talked about this, having a law where if a company goes bankrupt, then or goes under or whatever, or is going to be dissolved, the employees should by law have the option to like buy it or take it over. And I think that would be fucking awesome. You know what I mean? It's very similar to like cooperatives in the sense that I think it would be great.
Vietnam did the same thing.
It's not going to solve the problems of capitalism. But
Vietnam did exactly the same thing.
How? Really?
In 1975. Remember the textile company?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I told you, 1975. It was established, it was founded in 1960s in the South of Vietnam under the puppet government and owned by capitalists, of course. And in 1975, when the North and the Communism won the Vietnam War, and then we came to Saigon, and then those companies, the government gave to the company to the workers. That's the worker-owned company in since 1975. And then
the thing about that, though, and maybe you can help me out with this. There's another criticism I perceive of Vietnam is like a lot of the companies that were completely state-owned, right? Because if the whole idea is that like the theoretical idea, which I don't necessarily like fully buy into, but the theoretical idea is if you have a socialist state and a company is owned by the state, then it's therefore owned by the people since it's the people's state, right? I'm an anarchist, so I don't fully buy into that, but I at least understand the internal logic of it. But then like during Doi Moi, a lot of those state-owned companies became privately owned, and I really have like, I don't know, like I guess you could say suspicion about that process. Like how did they decide? Why? Oh, you're a millionaire now. You have a fucking giant corporation now. Like,
you know why? One of the big reason why is that like the IMF and World Bank force us to have the bigger portion of the private corporations, companies. They force us to do that. They force us to
I mean, like they could have done it. I mean, I'm just saying, forgive me. I will criticize Vietnam now. They could have like made it into a stock, like they could have issued stock to all the employees and boom, it's privately owned by all the employees or something like that. That's a big criticism I have. I don't know why they wouldn't have done something like that. I do know why. It's because some fucking high-ranking party member got a shitload of money off of it. I mean, that's a fact, right? I mean, we know that there's corruption in Vietnam.
Sure, you're fucking corrupted.
It annoys me. I just wish that all the people that say that I never criticize Vietnam were listening in right now, because this is stuff that we talk about all the time. But anyway, oh, another super chat. I just want to use the super chat to remind people to get out there and do something today. If you're able, as you're able, there are a lot of people who should stay the fuck indoors if you're in certain parts of the USA, especially because of COVID, but you can do something remotely.
Or stay in and do something. Check it.
Stay in and do something, or go out and do something. Either way.
The point is do something.
Yeah. But then it's like the other thing is, Luna, can you talk about the healthcare system in Vietnam? There's so much the communism failed crap out there.
I have a rant about the healthcare system in Vietnam, and it's way better. It's not the best, of course. This is way better than USA. We have free healthcare. We call it health insurance for poor people in Vietnam. 100% free. Everybody, any family that is like earn less than minimum wage, they have free healthcare. And the people who are near poverty line, they have a health insurance that can like have a discount of 70% discount. People middle class like me, working class, I have like my health insurance that pay from like 50 to 80% of the medical service. Depends on what kind of hospital that I chose. So, and for rich people, we don't know.
Or
we don't have. We don't have
We don't give a shit.
statistic about. We don't give a shit about rich people and foreigners. I'm sorry, just kidding.
So
but
I don't have insurance. I could buy insurance, but I don't have any kind of insurance as a foreigner living here. And it's still very cheap though, because they still have price stabilization for medicine and for most of the procedures and those sorts of things. So, like for instance, if I had to buy medicine, like my thyroid medicine in the USA, even with insurance, I was paying like $20-$30 a month, and here it's like $3 a month.
Yeah,
because of
actually, my mom just bought health insurance from the state of Vietnam, and originally it cost her like $800,000. It's like $37 a year, okay, a fucking year, and because like she chose her income rank is like under medium wage or something like that, even though it's actually not, but yeah, okay, she chose that, so she got a special discount now to like $23 for a year for her health insurance. And here's the thing, like if a whole family buy health insurance, you can get more and more and more discount. It's gonna be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So the state insurance is so fucking cheap and everybody can afford it, and the more the family members buy that, you're gonna have more discount.
Now, people are going to say, of course, because they have no nuance, if somebody watches this, they're going to say, oh, EJ stands the SOCDEM means-tested Scandinavian system healthcare system. No, I wish that Vietnam had a universal healthcare system, just like I want the USA to have a universal healthcare system. I don't know if they're right, like they may or may not be building towards that. I don't really know anything about the planning or whatever, but it's like, I could certainly say that for a developing country, it's better than most poor developing countries have. I mean, it's certainly better than like the Cambodian system or the, you know, a lot of the places in Southeast Asia that are like, you know, very in a very similar situation to Vietnam in terms of GDP and that sort of thing. But you know, it's like, again, I would personally rather be, I'm not a big fan of means testing, but I'd rather have a means tested system like Vietnam in the USA than fucking whatever we have now, which is the Wild West. Here's another good question, Luna, from Deva. What kind of mechanism does Vietnam have for reforms the people want? So if people are upset about something, if they don't like a law, or if they want to reform, how do they communicate that to the government or make it happen?
If we don't like a law, we just don't follow it. The law will exist after a few months. That's actually happening.
I have witnessed. So, for instance, here's an example of what Luna's talking about. I watched this happen in Saigon. It was so funny. Right when I moved to Saigon, there was a bunch of there was a law, because they used to have all these underwear mannequins. Like they would have mannequins out in the street, and they would have like a bra or like sexy clothes or whatever to like sell the clothes inside the shop. And the government was like, we don't like that. So we're gonna make that illegal. You cannot have a mannequin with underwear out on the street. And so all the little, like, and most of these shops are literally owned by like a family or like one lady, or like they're like kind of mutualist in a sense. They're not like big corporations that are doing this. So anyway, or even small businesses, they're like a family business. So anyway, what they did in response to this law is they just put naked mannequins out on the street, like so you could see full nip and everything. And it was just like, for like about a week or two, there were just all these naked mannequins on the street, and and like immediately the government rolled back that law. Another example is the bus lanes in Hanoi.
Exactly.
When they first come out with the express lane.
The green bus. Yeah. And then like when they gave out the new kind of bus, we called it the fast bus. And then like it's supposed to like it's like a third of the whole road, and then it's supposed to like only for the bus, and not everybody has the right to go on it, and everybody just fuck it. This just keeps going on. Well, nobody got arrested.
As somebody who is really into urban planning and who values public transportation, I do want to make a couple things clear. First of all, so the way they originally tried to structure it was nobody could ever get in that bus lane at any time. And if they did, they were like going to be very strict about it and give them like I think like a $50 or $100 ticket, which is very high in Vietnam. Yeah. And so they were doing that really strictly for like a few weeks. But like during like the mid-afternoon when there was like no traffic and like you know, people were like, they were just like, fuck it, I'm not going to follow this law. And
exactly.
so basically,
I did not follow that. I did not follow it at all too. Fuck it. Like when there's the boss, I will like, okay, give them the boss the
yeah. Well, so the thesis. Let's get dialectical about it. The thesis was nobody could ever go in this bus lane ever, and then the antithesis was everyone just ignored it. And but then so the synthesis of the government was basically like, if a car goes in that lane, they will. I have seen them get pulled over cars are never allowed to go in that lane.
Yeah.
Bikes, they don't care about bikes going that lane if it's not rush hour. But then during rush hour, they enforce it. So it's like they've basically just kind of synthesized it into this system that everyone just kind of works with. But as far as, I mean, like what else? Let's think of like more serious examples. There are protests. Hola, Aaron with Re-Education. Good comrade, very good, supportive comrade.
We're talking about how Vietnamese do not follow the laws that we don't like.
Yes. Well, so like, let's talk about.
One more thing I want to talk about, like remember when the scary wardens, remember in the years ago, because there was so much like traffic jam in Hanoi 10 years ago, and it was just a student. So like the traffic police, they got an idea, like they will allow the wardens to go there and arrest people. A warden is a
person who is like a volunteer, or they probably get paid a little bit by the government, but they kind of do
little
like
bit an allowance.
They help direct traffic, or they'll like do like
the community.
They'll like help out with events, public events and stuff. Yeah. It's like you know, like somebody who helps out with shit that needs to get done in the community. Okay, continue.
Exactly. So because like the traffic police, they like a amount of police to deal with that in they wanted the warden to have them, like they gave the wardens the authority, the power to arrest people, to bring them to the traffic police so they can be punished. And nobody fucking agree with that.
Yeah,
and then when the warden
you're under arrest, and they'd be like, "Fuck you! You can't arrest me."
Why you?
Like, this is why I always say people don't
happen anymore.
And they just stopped. They quit. They rolled back the law. This happens a lot. But this is why I say that the Vietnamese people and culture, in my opinion, from observing it, is pretty anarchistic. If you just go out in traffic, you'll see like people don't follow laws just because it's the law around here in general. I mean, like, if you're at a red light and there's no traffic, people will go through the red light. And it's like that shocked me when I first came here as an American, but it's like I don't know. It's like
what's the point? It's a red line, but the road is empty.
Vietnam got ranked like #2 for like best traffic, the most I guess like safest and most efficient traffic system in all of Asia.
Yes.
And you have also, I've done this research, fewer traffic deaths per person on motorbikes than almost any country I could find.
Wow.
Because I know why. It's because the traffic is slower here, generally speaking. So I've seen wrecks all the time.
And then we don't follow the laws and the signs. We'll look at the actual.
Yeah, that's true too.
The traffic situation, and then we deal with that. So that's why.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like, that's the thing. I think it's an interesting place to study as an anarchist, even if it's not an anarchist system. You see there's a lot of inspiration I think we can draw from Vietnam as anarchists. Like, for instance, with traffic laws, I'm completely 100% convinced that we really don't need traffic laws or traffic enforcement. That's one of the big things about anarchism. It's like, what would we do about the roads and traffic law enforcement? It's like, I honestly, especially if you get, like, think about another thing too. If you get rid of capitalism, why do most people drive fast and shit? It's because of work, right? You know, or maybe, and then there's the problems with drugs and stuff like that. We would deal with that better because it wouldn't be criminalized. It would be something that we actually treat in a medical sense. So it's like the whole idea that we need all these like sign, like we need signs and well-designed systems and stuff. But like somebody blowing a stop sign at 2 a.m. Like when I was a teenager, I was in a mall parking lot that was closed down at 2 a.m. with my friends, and I rolled through a stop sign, and the cop gave me a $500 ticket. And it's like, what the fuck? There's literally nobody around. Like, I mean, I just don't. And driving in Vietnam, I feel safer than in the USA, where like everybody like tries to rigidly follow the laws. It's like, I'm sorry, this is my own like pet issue, I guess, but I just don't think that we need like all this law enforcement and like state supervision of traffic. And I've learned that in Vietnam.
It's like support it so much.
Wait, I'm sorry. I had a audio issue. Can you say that again?
It's just like, if you're anarchist, why do you support like having traffic laws that much?
No, that's a criticism of anarchism. That is that if we abolish the police in the state, that there wouldn't be any like traffic enforcement.
I see. I got.
And my response is good.
Good, right? Yeah, I kind of see a chat from who? Wait a minute. Did you? Okay. Chris Loflan. Thank you so much for the super chat. And the message says, what do you think about the right use of the word corporatism? You talk about that, right?
Who? What? Corporatism?
Corporatism.
Yeah, I talked about that.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, VoteTM. And the message says, no party state. Vote on policies, not people. What do you think about this? Well, the point of Vietnam is having like stateless and classless society. So yeah, in the long future, I agree with you.
Hey, here's a funny story real quick from Einvolt, who says, I remember my mom once rode on the sidewalk to get through a really bad traffic jam. A traffic police caught her and she talked backhands on and we got away. I mean, I've seen that happen too. I've definitely seen that happen too.
Actually, police
they can't do anything. They're standing on the side of the road. They just, usually the traffic cops just stand on the side of the road with at least in Hanoi, and they're like, oh fuck, that guy ran away. That sucks. And also like motorbike license plates. This is another funny thing about Vietnam. Your license plate, like for instance, my motorbike, I have a blue card and it's got some Vietnamese person's name on it who owned it in like 1993 or something. So like, this is true, right, Luna?
Yes,
like whoever bought the bike originally, they get registered. It's registered to the person. I have like a 1992 or 93 motorbike. And my motorbike's blue card, which says that I own the motorbike, it was issued in 1993 or something like that. It's like a little blue card. And it's got this random Vietnamese person, might be dead now, who knows? I don't know.
Of course, yeah, must be dead.
And that is the only documentation that says that the motorbike belongs to the person who owns this blue card. So there's no, even though they have traffic cams, they are starting to have traffic cams. I fucking hate, another criticism of Vietnam. But those can only be used for cars because cars are actually really well documented. But for fucking motorbikes, there's no documentation. So if I went out and just like ran a red light and they got a photo of my tag and everything, there really is nothing they could do about it because they don't know who owns the motorbikes. There's no way that they can. And they've tried in the past. They thought about, like, I remember seeing in the news, they were like, we're going to register every motorbike.
Trying this so hard. Like, United try to trace and track all the motorbike buyers, but it's impossible.
But then they look at it and they're like, this is not going to happen.
I was so like pissed and it was like, this is not possible. This is impossible. Absolutely. So like, and I knew it. And after like 1 or 2 years, like everybody just fucking forget the law or something like that. Never happened again. Like, how can you do that? It's impossible in this situation.
It's just interesting.
Another super chat. Another super chat. Okay.
Wow.
From Persephels. Okay. Speaking of corruption, I've heard that China has recently been cracking down hard on corruption. Do you two know anything about that? Talk to Bay Area 415. Yes, I know. I know. Same is because the same thing happened in Vietnam. Like in the last decade or something like that, China had to deal with like 10,000 cases of corruption. I can be wrong, but the number is huge. Corruption, and we are fighting it. They are fighting it, and the same thing in Vietnam. Vietnam is also fighting corruption. So like that's like every month there would be usually there will be a couple of governor and a CEO work together to be like to get the corruption, to get the money. So yes, so like the party members and capitalists work together to get people's money. Okay, and every month we see like a couple of them sent to jail for like life sentence or even fucking death sentence that many of you are against. But that's how we deal with corruption. We are investigating and sending them to jail, something like that. And when we do that, you criticize us for being authoritarian. So we don't know what to do. Should we deal with corruption or not?
I've done this study. So this person, D610, said, Luna, we need a study of traffic accidents in Vietnam to compare the impact of loose no enforcement or traffic law versus the U.S. Luna, I did this before. I'll give you the numbers. I've done this research. And you know why I did it? I did it for a Facebook post a long time ago on a fucking expat group. Because the expat groups in Vietnam are so fucking vitriolic and racist. And they're always like, oh, Vietnamese people are so, like savage and inferior. And look at the traffic. It's like they can't follow laws or whatever, And so I was like, this is so racist and it pissed me off so much. So I actually did the research and it was like, and I really did. Like I found and it was kind of hard to do because I had to do like a comparative thing. But like, because first of all, you have to remember in Vietnam, most people ride motorbikes and motorbikes are inherently more dangerous. And the number one cause of death on a or injury on a motorcycle is a single vehicle accident, right? Which means that like you fall down because like maybe there's grass on the road or there's rocks or something, gravel. The reason people ride motorbikes in Vietnam has to do with like the poverty here and just the culture and the way that it's evolved. So I don't think it's really fair to do an apples and oranges comparison of just like road deaths per capita in the USA versus Vietnam. So what I did was I looked at motorbikes per capita, or basically road deaths per person who rides a motorbike in Vietnam, which there are statistics on, and the same statistics for the USA. And I think I also looked at like Germany. And in terms of road deaths per motorcycle, Vietnam's road deaths were like way lower, way lower. I have to go back and find the statistics, but maybe that's something, Luna. I never really knew what to do with that. It's just been sitting on my Google Drive for like 2 or 3 years now. But maybe that's something you could do. I think you should do a video on traffic in Vietnam and how it works. That's fascinating. And maybe you could include that research I did, since I already went through all that work.
Yeah. It's just like, let's shoot a bunch of shots about the actual traffic in Vietnam and how you deal with it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do I think that'd be fun. We could do like a guide on how to drive in Vietnam and like show, because like there are like little rules. This is another thing that I think is interesting as an anarchist. Like nobody ever talks about them. They're just kind of common sense rules that everybody follows. And it's just so interesting to me. So like the biggest rule is the bigger thing has the right of way. So if there's a car and a motorbike, the car can go first. Yes. And if there's a truck and a car, the truck can go first. But nobody fucks with the buses. The buses always have the right of way. Because those drivers won't. They'll just smash into you. Yeah. But there's other things like
if there's any accident, the bigger vehicle will be the one who got the blame for.
Yeah.
So like it's
an accident. Also, if there's an accident, the first priority is, assuming that nobody got hurt badly.
Yes.
The first priority is like we got to sort this all out before the cops get here because nobody wants to deal with the cops.
Yeah, the cops is the very least thing you want to deal with. So like, I had several accidents in my life, Sam, and then cops never got involved. It's just like, okay, everybody come here, talk to each other, and then they have the two sides.
They'll have a little trial. They'll have a little, like in my situation, I've been involved in 2 or 3 accidents. They'll have a little on the street trial. Like the first time, my second or third day in Vietnam, I got in a wreck with this guy. It was my fault. And then it was like in Bui Vien, which is like the big tourist street in Saigon. And all these, like everybody that saw it rushed up. And they're like, okay, here's what happened. I saw it. Yeah, it was his fault. Okay. And then finally somebody translated to me like, okay, you give him $10 and we're done. Like that's it. Like they just, like that was what they all decided together. And we left. And they all were like very frantic to do it quickly before the police arrived.
Exactly.
And the same thing happened when one time I was taking a taxi to the airport and the taxi driver got into a crash with another car. And everybody that saw it rushed over and they like negotiated it on the street and it was like tensions were a little high, but once it was all sorted out, everyone just went on their own way. It was like very interesting to watch it just organically unfold. But they really didn't want the police to come. That's always like the case. The only time you want the police to come is if somebody's like seriously hurt. And in my experience, from what I've seen,
yeah. It's in our expression like the worst happened to you is not having accident, is to have accident right in front of the traffic police. You're fucked.
ACAB, even in Vietnam edition, ACAB Vietnam edition. Nobody in Vietnam likes the traffic cops. Am I right about that, Luna?
Yes.
I don't think there's a lot of love for the traffic cops in Vietnam. It's like they have a lot of insults for them. They wear like a yellow outfit, so they'll call them Pikachus, or like yellow dog is another one. Have you heard that one, Luna?
Yellow dog,
goldfish.
golden fish. Pikachu.
Sometimes they'll call them like hidden heroes.
Hidden hero, and because we did have a hero. He's an ethnic minority. He's a hero fighting against American soldiers, and his name is Hidden in Vietnamese, and like. So like we call those like in mark like fucking hidden heroes. They just hide behind a big tree and then jump out and catch you in the face.
So funny.
Yes.
So and then okay, I see this question: how are cops in Vietnam? Beyond the traffic police, you know, I've never had to interface with them. They don't really patrol. I never
the only time you see them on the street is
police.
I never. Usually, like yesterday, I came to the district government, and then they're like on the side of the road. There's just a list of them, like the district people's committee, and then the district's police, and all kinds of stuff like that. And then I didn't know where to go, so my mom said, like, "Hey, just go to the police and ask them." I was like, "Okay, mom," and I bravely walk into the district police station, and I asked him like, "Hey, can you show me this way?" And he actually had like, "Hey, you can go to that way in the second gate and then go there and ask." And like that's it. Like, I never got harassed by the police in Vietnam, and actually I came there to ask for help. And the cops in Vietnam are not that scary, actually.
I mean, like I just don't. I can't really speak to it myself because I have just never had like interactions with them. But like. I will say when I first moved to Vietnam, I was terrified because I expected it to be like a really fucking authoritarian communist country. And I remember walking around my neighborhood and like there were these guys with like machine guns, like standing on the side of the road, but they were in front of a military base, right? But that freaked me out a little bit. And then we went out for drinks, the first time I ever went for drinks, and we decided to walk from one bar to another. And we walked, and it was like every block, we walked like maybe 4 blocks. And like every block, there'd be like 1 or 2 of these guys with like a gun, like standing on the side of the road. And I'm like, holy shit, this really is like behind the Iron Curtain or whatever. And then like after a few months, I realized that was like a row of embassies. Because you know, near that walking street in Saigon, there's like this row of embassies. So it's like they're just standing outside in front of the embassy. So I don't know. And like they don't even carry the guns anymore most of the time. Like they've kind of ramped that back. They used to always have an AK-47. Now, most of the time they don't. Although you will see like a really bored, sleepy looking young, like 18-year-old.
I even talked to a police, the city police in Da Nang, and I asked him, like when I did the research for my Vietnamese police video, right? And I asked him like, hey, what about the guns in the police? Like, do you carry guns every day? And he laughed out loud. He even laughed. Like, why do you have to do that? I don't. Like, I have the right to own guns, but I never bring a gun out. It's like, I brought out my gun out only when like that's like a confirmed information about there's gonna be a crime scene in a special place. So they go there with the gun. And I normally like, and he's told me like, you saw me. I never carry any gun with me, not even the stick.
Another thing that, again, another reason I wish that anarchists would study Vietnam in good faith, because it proves the points that we make. Even though Vietnam is a state communist society that has police, I think that Vietnam is a good case for why we don't need police. And let me tell you why. Because, for instance, during COVID, during the lockdown in COVID, there was like and we have footage of this, there was like about a 2 or 3 week period, the police were busy working on the COVID response.
Yes.
You know, because normally you would see like traffic police on like busy roads and you'd see like some cops. I mean, like they don't patrol or anything, but you'll see them. But like there was about a 2 week period when there were no cops anywhere in all of Da Nang. Like we didn't see a single cop for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Patients, they all have to deal with.
And guess what? Everything was fucking fine. There was no, it wasn't like chaos. There was no, like people were driving normally. Everything was exactly the same as normal. Just like it is, and it's like
even more peaceful. I feel so like comfortable.
Yeah, I know.
And, like, I know that that's not gonna the police is not gonna be up there in that corner. So like, okay, let's go. Like that's so peaceful.
And this is why I wish that the anarchists would look at Vietnam in good faith with some nuance, because then you'll see shit like this, and you'll say it's even though they have police here, there is evidence in Vietnam that you don't need to have police. In my opinion, like, so it's just interesting to me. That's why I talk about Vietnam a lot, because like I see a lot of are anarchist principles in action here against expectation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it surprises me when I see it. I guess is what the way I would say it. I don't know.
Yatisini, oh, wait. No, Red J TV. Sorry, it's Red J TV. Luna, would you ever want to interview other Vietnamese people about life, socialism in Vietnam? Actually, I'm planning on interviewing my mom. To ask her
we want to interview oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. There was a delay. I thought you finished.
Hate you.
I thought you were finished. There was a stutter, like a. Just
okay.
talk. What are you going to interview about?
I want to interview my mom to ask her about the 10 years of Vietnam under food communism, when we tried to build a food communist society when there was no money. And she lived through that time. So it's really interesting perspective.
But you don't only want to interview your mom, is all I was going to say, because it sounds kind of funny. Somebody's like, hey, do you want to interview other Vietnamese people? And you're like, I'll interview my mom. But you want to interview other people as well. One problem is that Luna is shy, I've noticed.
I have social anxiety.
But like, when we're walking around, like, remember Luna did a great interview with that old man that was fishing that one time. I want you to do more stuff like that, Luna. That was so awesome, in my opinion. Remember when we were at that pagoda and we were going to have a picnic on our motorbike? Do you remember that? And there was that old man fishing.
Yes, I remember that.
That was like the best thing in that video, was that funny little conversation. I just love that. Like, that's what I want to see more of in your videos personally. Speaking as a fan of Luna Oi, I want you to talk to more people on the street. But every time we're out there shooting, she's always so shy to ask anybody. But just people are generally don't give a shit. I don't know.
I
have social anxiety too, though. Yeah, I know. Maybe eventually Luna can. Another thing I want you to do, Luna, is like find some like traditional Vietnamese musicians and interview them about traditional Vietnamese music or art, stuff like that. I would love to see more stuff like that. That's just me speaking as a fan of the show. A little positive feedback. Look at how mad Luna is right now. I wish more anarchists were this open-minded. I mean, I wish more. On the same token, I have to say, you know, in defense of anarchism, I wish more Marxist-Leninists were open-minded too, because I feel like a lot of times Marxist-Leninists think that we haven't thought about shit that we have thought about. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been, like, anarchism has existed for like 200 years.
Anarchism is chaos.
Right. Or that, like, so, like, for instance, one big thing is like, what are you going to do if capitalists invade, you know? And it's like, we've thought about that. And there are examples in history of anarchist militaries that did really well in the field, like Nestor Makhno's Black Army and the Catalonians. I mean, you know, like, we're willing to fight and have like a self-defense force that is like organized. You know, and it's really, I don't think that I would love actually what we should do, Luna, it would be interesting, is to like take a look at the way that, because I have a feeling based on the little that I do know from reading Che Guevara's book, Bowman Zapp's book, and then also reading about like Nestor Makhno and especially the Catalonians, like it feels like they had a lot of similar principles in terms of how they organized and how they, you know, like I know that in the South Vietnam, it's true that they would like elect their officers, right? In the resistance force. I think I read that somewhere.
Who?
In South Vietnam during the war. Oh. So I think that South Vietnam, there's the NVA, which is like the traditional hierarchical standard military, but then they had what do they call it? The PLF, the People's Liberation Front.
Something like that. Something like that.
Anyway, the South Vietnamese guerrillas. The South Vietnamese guerrillas were like a lot more decentralized and loosely structured. They had like democratic structures, and it felt a lot like
they gave them more of their own right to vote for their leaders.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, there's probably more overlap than people think in terms of that. And it's like, yeah, what do they call it? Trekkie was talking about this yesterday. They call it adhocracy, where it's like you have this, you might have this like hierarchy on the battlefield just for organization and control of your forces, because you have to have a lot of people coordinating, but it is as democratic as possible and as open and transparent as possible within the, you know, reason, within the parameters of a military operation. I read anything that Radical Reviewer tells me to, by the way. Radical Reviewer is a fantastic. Yes. Rad Reviewer and I had a really great, if you want to go way back in the archives on Non-Compete Live, we talked about Vo Nguyen Zap's book. We did a 6 hours of streaming about Vo Nguyen Zap and...
What the fuck? When did you do that? Why don't I don't remember that?
It was when my channel was like quite new.
Hey, yay.
I should go back and cut some highlights of that or something.
Yes. Or you should invite him back.
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk to Rad about that soon. I'm very much in love with the Viet Cong structure and would love to see left local militias set up the same way. That's another video you can make, Luna.
Yeah.
Structure of the Viet Minh forces. Is Viet Cong insulting, Luna? We talked about this one time, but I can't really get it. It's a term that the Americans came up with, right?
It was a term that Ngô Đình Diệm, the puppet president, came up with. Because like at the time, I tell you like very short. Since the resistance against France in the 50s, the Viet Minh got really good reputation. And then when we fought the war against America, we still use the same name Viet Minh. And then the Ngô Đình Diệm and the puppet government in South Vietnam in the 50s, the 60s, they were scared of that reputation. And that's why they created a new word to try to like confuse people. So like, oh, they are not Viet Minh, they are Viet Cong, and Viet Cong are actually bad. So it was created as a propaganda name to insult the Viet Minh people, and the real name is Viet Minh. But like for now, by now, we kind of use it interchangeably because we understand it. And even though like we still try to explain that actually Viet Cong was not the right name, it was a propaganda name. But even now, when you use the word Viet Cong, we understand that you didn't mean to insult them or something. Or something is fine.
Couple of quick ones. Ludlow Vert. I remember listening to EJ's People's War People's Army stream, sitting alone in my kitchen at night eating hummus. Good times. Oh, I miss hummus so much. I gotta find a way to make some hummus here in Vietnam. Oh my gosh. Why is it the most anarchists on Twitter end up being super authoritarian and fascist? I mean, I wouldn't say that most, but I will say that the key word here is Twitter. Twitter is a shithole, and you'll find the worst of all stripes on Twitter. The worst Marxist-Leninists, the worst anarchists, the worst mutualists. There's a lot of shitty people on Twitter. It's got a lot to do with the way Twitter is structured, I think. Twitter is structured, it rewards really divisive, shitty behavior. How are you going to get the most hearts and retweets and clout and followers? It's by being persnickety. And I'm guilty of that myself, too. That's why I'm taking a break off of Twitter right now as much as possible, because it just makes me feel like I become a more toxic person from using Twitter. I'm really trying to wean myself off of it and maybe
I don't want to feel like I'm like abusive or toxic or something.
Yeah. I want us to have I mean, even Mastodon to me is a little bit too much like Twitter because it's so focused on retweeting and hearts and followers. Like, I feel like there's a better way to completely restructure a social media platform to where it is more conducive to actual communication. I don't know. I'm not an expert on what that would look like, but Twitter is like not the greatest template. Y'all heard of Panquake?
Panquake? What is it?
Not heard of Panquake, no.
Hey, we are over time, actually.
Wait, you got one more question? This is a good question. Oh, no. We're fighting over the button. Luna, you tweeted that you like kudzu. Has EJ had it as well? Is there any in America that would have a similar taste to it? Kudzu, yes. I've had a kudzu drink. It's very delicious, actually. It's almost like tastes kind of like a sports drink almost, like a less salty. It's not salty, but it's almost like I don't know how to explain it. It's very good, though. It's like refreshing. Luna, we can't hear you. Luna, we can't hear you. You broke something. So I will talk until we can hear Luna again.
Check.
There you go. Okay. What were you saying?
By the way, I'm having the kudzu root right on my hand right now.
Do you just eat that or what? Or do you make a drink out of it? What? You didn't tell me you could eat it.
It's so good. It's my favorite snack. Wild kudzu root.
It's exactly the same kudzu we have in South Carolina. We have it all over South Carolina.
It's so sad that you don't know. Yeah, so good. Look at this. Just boil it like cassava and then eat it.
Is it savory? Is it sweet? Is it? How's it
It's
taste?
like the awesome combination between cassava and sweet potato. The texture is a little bit like cassava, you know.
Yeah.
And it's sweet as sweet potato. So good.
Interesting. I know I like the way that the drink tastes, so that's always good.
The drink that you got was actually it's the kudzu starch. You know, I took the.
Let me show them a picture of kudzu. Kudzu is a big part of Southern culture because these ding dongs, like back in the 1800s, they imported kudzu to be like a porch decorative plant. And now, let me show you. I'll try to find specifically South Carolina. This is what it looks like in South Carolina now. So let me share my screen. It's like, oh, this is in Atlanta, Georgia. This is what it looks like now on the side of the road.
Holy
It's like
shit.
taken over. It's a very invasive plant where I'm from. So like,
Here's the thing.
yeah.
It's actually your quest. Can you Google the kudzu roots on Google and show them too?
I had never even thought about a kudzu root before. I guess it looks like that.
So that's it. Yes. Is it going to be huge like that? Look at the picture of the huge roots. It's like huge. And like, no, it's your quest. If you have time and we have friends with you, just go like find the roots of kudzu and dig them up and then boil them and even make starch out of them to have drink. You can cook all kind of things. Because like the kudzu, the sad thing about the kudzu starch is like when you cook it, it turns transparent and it is like just like tapioca powder. Very interesting. Well, that's what I'm eating right now.
Interesting. Good old kudzu. See now, that's something that really surprised me. I didn't find that out until very recently.
The other thing too, you can even eat its vines raw. So if you're lost and you're starved, did you see kudzu? You're saved. You can eat everything. Just eat the raw vines, and it's like they taste like a bit juicy and very sweet. Just the vines. That's why like the kudzu roots is super sweet.
Yeah. Cunhado de Izquierdas, hi Javi, says it acts like eucalyptus stealing resources from other plants, sucking all the nutrients from the soil. And in Vietnam, it's not, I guess they have like natural, there are other plants that compete with it or other animals that eat it or something. I don't know. It's not all over the place like you see.
We eat them all. Actually, now
I don't think...
we have a kudzu farm. We have kudzu
You can eat
farm.
that much kudzu? I've never seen a place in Vietnam that looks like this though. Have you?
Exactly, because we ate them all and then...
No, that's Luna. Kudzu grows so fast. You'd have to eat nothing but kudzu, and maybe you could.
You know what? Because we make a kudzu starch too, and it will like take a lot of roots to have a kilogram.
I think you're underestimating how much fucking kudzu there is in South Carolina. Like you don't understand. It's not just like imagine this, but for all 250 miles of interstate from the top to the bottom of South Carolina, nonstop.
Microsoft Word technical support. LOL, you're looking at their nature of
Luna, could you eat 250 miles of kudzu? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm
90 millions of Vietnamese people do it, so
I'm skeptical. I want to know how much kudzu an average Vietnamese person eats per year,
because
and then I want to do the math.
When I was a kid,
I think it might not grow as fast here.
And when I was a kid, my parents grew kudzu in my farm.
The only way to find this out is through research. I think because you don't understand, like every inch of South Carolina is covered in kudzu. It's like absurd.
Here's the thing.
It's absurd.
It's my true story. When I was a kid, my parents grow kudzu in the backyard, like right next behind this wall. And then they were so mad at me when like I want to snack, you know. And then I just came down to the garden and cut a piece of kudzu vines and eat them raw. And it actually killed the whole vines of kudzu, and my parents were so mad because they were
no. See, that's a major difference. So there's something different about Vietnam, because in the USA, I know because I had to cut it when I was a kid in my backyard, and you cut it, you could destroy, you could, like, we would burn it. You could burn like an acre of kudzu, and then like a week later, it's totally back.
So much food wasting. Goddamn, you're burning your food.
Luna, I think you don't understand. It's an invasive plant. It doesn't have any natural predator or anything. So it kills, like Happy said, it kills all the other plants. Like these trees. Luna, you're like a babe in the woods. You don't understand the dangers of kudzu. Look, these trees are all going to die. Do you understand?
I know
Everything that this kudzu is touching is going to die.
Eat them.
Wait, Luna, I swear to God, you got it. The only way for me to explain this to you is for us to go to South Carolina, so you can see that I'm not exaggerating and that it's like a major problem. Like it's not. It's yeah. We need to maybe we need to import Luna into South Carolina to get rid of all the kudzu. That's your challenge, Luna. If you can eat every kudzu in South Carolina, you will get like a medal from the governor. I'm sure. Like.
Can I just
like
say go to South
Carolina and
take all the kudzu root up and then import it back to Vietnam?
If you can do it, go for it. Good luck. We've been trying for 200 years.
You're such a loser. For 100 years and you haven't even tried to eat it.
Well, that is weird to me that we don't eat it. That is weird to me that we don't eat it. I think that there's kudzu tea, but I've never heard of people eating the root or making the kind of drink that you made.
We make cake, we make sweet soup, we make like all kinds of soups, we make like drinks out of it. We boil the root and you don't even try it?
That is weird to me. I feel like there could be a big, massive industry for that in South Carolina. It's a refreshing summer drink, which would be great in a humid South Carolina summer. Anthony Joseph Tobenkrow. Luna, keep propping up EJ. I love Americans' videos, but you definitely make learning communism more accessible and entertaining. Love you both. I can't wait for Luna's channel to be bigger than mine, and I'm going to go into like semi-retirement. And just like, I've told Luna, I'll just work behind the scenes, edit her videos, just kind of relax a little bit. Because I much prefer, it's too stressful being like in front on non-compete. So I just, y'all keep spreading the word about Luna's channel so I can, if you want to get rid of me, that's the way to do it.
Kudzu.
Kudzu.
And remember, don't, if you dig up like the kudzu that's been living too long, like more than 5 or 7 years, it's not going to taste good anymore.
If you what?
If you let the kudzu root like grow for more than 5 to 7 years, and that the root will not taste good anymore.
Well, I don't even.
So we have to harvest them like at the right time, and this is how they look. It looks like this root, right? But actually, it's so good.
See, the way you're talking about kudzu is so alien to me because I couldn't imagine ever being able to distinguish one individual kudzu plant from all the billions others. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how do you know which one is 5 years? Like, how could you keep track of them all?
We don't know.
They don't grow the same in Vietnam. There can't be a way. What the fuck? I don't know why we got this super chat. Buy a McDonald's Big Mac today. Ba-da-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Okay. Is this McDonald's new advertising strategy? McDonald's is going to start advertising on small.
Keep doing that. Keep doing this. Please super chat and tell me to buy.
What in the world? This is so funny. Is that okay? Somebody has elected to just donate. This reminds me of a story, Luna, that you'll think is funny. What is EJ's channel? My channel is youtube.com/non-compete. I'll drop it in the chat. But I could use some more subs because a lot of people have been unsubscribing from me lately. So we could use a little triage to stop the hemorrhaging. So feel free to share that link. I don't usually ask for shares, but yeah, I guess
you have to say it in a cute way. You have to say it in a cute way.
Please share my wink. That Luna, I got to tell you a funny story before we go. It's really funny. Okay. In fact, I might be able to find the link. Yeah, there's a news link. Okay, so remember so we got a super chat from somebody who just decided to donate advertisement to McDonald's, which reminds me of this person, it's so sort of pathetic to me. Hold on, I gotta find it. I was just looking at it this morning.
Please
Okay,
subscribe.
so here's this. Please subscribe to my channel. All right, Elon Musk gives tentative yes to SpaceX game developer. So there's this game developer on Twitter. I just kind of feel sorry for this person, honestly, because they're like so like institutionalized by capitalism. So this person tweeted every single day. Their plan was to tweet every day for a full year to Elon Musk with the same tweet. And the tweet was, "Dear Elon, I'm a game dev and I'm making a game about colonizing Mars with you and SpaceX in it. If you think it's cool, all I need is a go ahead and use your name and logos. I will post this every day for a year until I get a yes or a no." And then finally, after 154 days, Elon Musk replied, as a game no. What? That's you can steal our name, logos, and we probably won't sue you. And then on top of this, the game developer said he will donate 80% of the game's profits to SpaceX and Elon Musk so that they could use it for space corporation building. So in other words, there's this person who has like dedicated his year to begging Elon Musk for permission to make a game about SpaceX so that he could then donate 80% of the profits to Elon Musk and SpaceX. And it just makes me so sad because they probably really believe that like SpaceX and Elon Musk are like good for humanity and that they're like donating to a good cause.
What the fuck?
I know. That's why the anarcho-McDonaldism is here. It's got this, I mean, you know that picture of me eating the McDonald's fries with my communism shirt on? Same color scheme. Elon Musk is literally the last person in the world who needs money. Exactly. Well, Elon Musk and Bezos are like neck and neck now, right? Elon Musk keeps like gaining a bunch of money and then losing it because his company's such a grift that like it's unstable. Ah, so weird. I mean, it's just so sad. I don't know.
You have to go. My mom just finished making lunch and I will eat lunch.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry now. All right. I miss you, Luna.
Hey, do you want to try some kudzu root? I will try to get some home for you.
Of course. As Luna would say, of course.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And remember, if you see kudzu and if you have tam, if you have a stick with you, dig the roots up.
Make sure that it's kudzu. If you're not, I would not feel safe doing that. Because I would be like, I might accidentally dig up some poison ivy or something. God, so if you feel like you're a person that could safely identify a plant, then maybe this is something you could try. But just know that there are always the inherent dangers of being a ding-dong like me who would probably dig up poison ivy and stuff it in my mouth or something.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. And thank you for all the super chat. And I kind of miss
Please subscribe to my channel. YouTube.com/noncompete. I'll drop the wink one more time. I don't usually talk like a baby on my channel, if that helps you.
My mom is calling me like the food is ready. Thank you so much.
Okay.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm ending. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. See you next week. Love you all.